High above the shining city of Solmer, a simple courier clings to her dragon's back, believing it is just another flight through the morning sky. But when her companion reveals a secret hidden beyond the clouds, she finds herself staring at a colossal force that could tear reality apart. What begins as an ordinary delivery turns into a battle for the survival of worlds, where truth, fire, and courage collide in the most unexpected way. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The morning sky stretched wide and pale over the city of Solmer. High above the rooftops, a bronze dragon named Emberwind cut through the thin air with wings that gleamed like hammered metal. Strapped to the saddle was Lyra, a courier known less for her bravery and more for her sharp tongue. She gripped the reins with both hands, though her voice carried more confidence than her white-knuckled grip suggested. Anyone watching would have thought she was afraid of falling. That was true, but only partly. Lyra was also afraid of being late, of losing another day's wage, and of Emberwind deciding mid-flight that showing off mattered more than stability. "When I joined the Courier Guild," she shouted over the rush of wind, "they never mentioned balancing on a dragon's back at cloud height while my hair tries to strangle me." Her copper hair whipped around her face, tangling in the air like ropes caught in a storm. Emberwind answered with a low growl and a burst of flame from his nostrils. The fire dissolved into the sky without harm, but the message was clear. He was not a beast of burden. He was a dragon. Dramatic, proud, and unwilling to be ignored. Lyra leaned forward and patted the scales on his neck. "I did not say you were unreliable, only that you have a flair for being unpredictable. There is a difference." She laughed despite herself, though her legs shook from the altitude. Beneath them, the city of Solmer glimmered on the mountainside. Its tall spires reflected morning light into hues not found on any painter's palette. Merchants filled the streets with color, while banners fluttered from towers. Yet none of that was what Emberwind's eyes sought. Suddenly, he tilted sharply to the east, pulling Lyra with him. The move nearly unseated her, and she yelped, clutching the saddle horn. "Warning would be nice," she cried. "Are we rushing toward something, or fleeing from it?" Emberwind's gaze fixed on the horizon. The clouds ahead looked ordinary, white masses drifting above the mountain ranges. But his pupils narrowed, and his wings beat with restless urgency. Lyra squinted at the sky. "I see nothing, only air and clouds." Her voice wavered, but Emberwind's determination made her uneasy. The dragon ascended higher, air fanning around them, until Lyra pulled her mask across her face for breath. Her heart pounded in her chest as Emberwind stretched his neck forward, focusing on a section of sky that looked to Lyra no different from the rest. Then, without warning, Emberwind reached back with one claw. He touched her forehead lightly. Her vision split into impossible colors. She gasped as the sky burned open before her eyes, revealing something vast and terrible. Hidden behind the clouds was not a storm, but a shape darker than night itself. It was not a ship, not in the way humans define ships. It was a colossal structure that swallowed light and bent the air around it. Towers of metal and energy stretched out like branches of a tree, endless in every direction. It hovered above Solmer, cloaked by a veil that only Emberwind seemed able to pierce. Lyra tore the mask from her face as words slipped out unplanned. "That is not weather. That is an invasion." Emberwind's chest rose and fell, his breath heavy with fire he dared not release. His eyes never left the monstrous form above the city. Lyra shook her head. How can something so enormous hide right above us? And why does no one else see it? Emberwind gave a rumble low in his throat, then lifted his wings with slow determination. His body told her what words could not. They were in danger, they had to act. But Lyra's mind raced. She was a courier, not a warrior. Her daily troubles involved late payments, spilled parcels, and the occasional tavern brawl. Saving the city was not on her schedule. Still, the truth glared at her as the hidden colossus shifted slightly, a ripple moving along its dark frame like a giant stirring in its sleep. She clutched the saddle. If you are right, Emberwind, then this is bigger than us. The council must be warned. They have defenses, soldiers, magisters. They will know what to do. The dragon's eyes narrowed, his head giving the smallest shake. Lyra felt her throat tighten. You do not trust them, do you? Emberwind roared once, sharp and commanding, his wings driving them into a tight spiral downward. Fine, she said, gripping harder. But if I die today, I will personally haunt you until the end of time. He banked lower, soaring along the edge of a mountain ridge. Mist rose around them as the city fell behind. The journey was no longer about letters and deliveries. It was about a secret too heavy for one human to carry, and too dangerous for any city to ignore. The call above the horizon had been made, and Lyra, unwilling and unready, found herself caught in its path. On the jagged cliffs that overlooked the valley of Solmir, Captain Malus crouched with a pair of high-range scopes pressed to her eyes. Her uniform was plain, marked only by the insignia of the Shadow Wardens, a hidden order sworn to watch the skies. She had been sent to monitor unusual disturbances, but what she saw now went beyond her most cautious predictions. Far above, a bronze dragon sliced through the clouds with its rider clinging tight. Malus recognized the courier's guild markings on the saddle. Lyra, if she recalled correctly, a messenger with little record of importance. Yet the way the dragon moved disturbed her. It was not the lazy loop of a courier's errand. It was precise, deliberate, almost urgent. Beside Malus hovered a small mechanical sphere, its surface glowing with shifting patterns of blue light. The device hummed softly, scanning the skies. Confirm visual anomaly, Malus whispered into a wrist communicator. Her voice was calm, but her fingers tightened around the scope. The sphere flickered and produced a line of text across its display. Veil breach detected. Probability irregular. Malus frowned. The veil was not supposed to be visible to dragons. The veil was an engineered cloak of energy, designed to hide something far greater. Her order had been told that no creature below a certain level of consciousness could ever pierce it. Yet the dragon, bronze wings flashing in the sun, locked eyes on a patch of empty sky, as if staring directly into the forbidden. She lowered the scope, shaking her head. That is impossible. The sphere whirred again, and this time a sharper tone filled the air. Analysis confirmed. Draconic perception anomaly exceeds recorded scales. Malus muttered, They told us dragons were beasts of muscle and fire, not thinkers, not seers. She leaned against the stone of the cliff, considering her next report. But her gaze followed Lyra and Emberwind as they banked across the horizon. Something in the way the dragon tilted its head told her it was aware of being watched, aware of the veil. She turned to the sphere. Run a threat assessment on the rider. The machine projected an image into the air. A young woman, 29 years old, Class C courier. No awards, no distinctions, several reports of sarcastic remarks during guild assemblies. Malus raised an eyebrow. sarcasm as a defining record. Remarkable. Yet something in her gut warned her not to dismiss the pair. If the dragon saw the truth above the clouds, then the rider was now a part of that truth. While she considered, Lyra and Emberwind descended toward the city's outskirts. Malus adjusted her position, tracking them with care. Her voice dropped lower as she spoke into her communicator. Confirm. Dragon Rider unit has pierced veil awareness. Initiate containment review. A crackling voice answered from the device. Orders pending. Do not engage until protocol reviewed. Malus gritted her teeth. We do not have time for review. But she followed orders, crouching deeper into the shadows. Her mechanical companion hovered silently, as if it too feared the weight of what it had confirmed. Down in Solmare, Lyra dismounted on a rooftop, her dragon folding its wings with restless energy. Malus watched through the scope as the courier dashed through a door, leaving Emberwind glaring at the sky like a sentinel. Inside her apartment, Lyra rummaged through belongings scattered across cluttered shelves. She pulled a small chest from beneath her coats, opening it with trembling hands. Malus adjusted the lens and caught a glimpse of what lay inside. A strange device, shimmering with crystals and copper wiring. Old tech, clearly not built by human hands. Malus inhaled sharply. She had seen its design before in restricted archives. It was a translator, a forbidden relic designed to bridge thought between species. Her sphere emitted a sharp pulse. Translator identified. Risk escalation confirmed. Before Malus could decide her next move, motion flickered in her scope. Two figures, cloaked in black, moved across the neighboring rooftop. Operatives, not hers, not wardens, outsiders. She cursed under her breath. Someone else had moved faster. The figures broke into Lyra's apartment without hesitation. Malus tensed. Through her scope, she saw Lyra freeze, clutching the translator close. Emberwind's head snapped upward, and with a roar that shook the windows, the dragon crashed down through the ceiling in a storm of flame and fury. The operatives scattered, their weapons glowing faintly. Emberwind's fire lit the room in blazing blue arcs. Precise enough to miss Lyra, yet destructive enough to make the intruders retreat. Smoke poured from shattered beams as Lyra stumbled toward the window, clutching the device to her chest. Malus lowered her scope and swore. This was spiraling beyond observation. She called into her communicator. Command, this is Captain Malus. Situation unstable. The dragon is aware. The rider possesses a translator. Hostile forces already attempting seizure. Recommend immediate escalation. Static filled her ear, then a terse reply. Acknowledged. Prepare for field action. Containment priority. Malus exhaled slowly, her eyes fixed on the sky where Emberwind had taken flight once again. She could almost feel the weight of the hidden structure pressing against the veil above, waiting, watching, awakening. And in that moment she realized her role had changed. She was no longer only a watcher in the shadows. She was now a player in a story that had already begun. The air thinned as Emberwind climbed higher, wings cutting against the chill. Lyra clung to the saddle, her heart racing. She still held the translator pressed close to her chest. Her breath came sharp through the oxygen mask as the dragon finally leveled off above the clouds. She had seen the hidden shape once before, but now she was certain it was still there. Something massive lingered above Solmare. It bent the sky itself like a weight pressing through a thin sheet. Emberwind's eyes glowed with urgency. He looked back at her, his gaze unblinking. Lyra swallowed and pulled the odd device over her head. wires pressed against her temples. The crystal in the center pulsed with light that matched her heartbeat. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, with a low hum, a voice filled her mind. Finally, it said. Lyra gasped and nearly slipped from the saddle. Emberwind, is that you? Yes. His tone was dry and calm, as though he had been waiting years to speak. Do not shout. I can hear you clearly. Her mouth hung open. You can talk. You can actually talk. I have always been able to talk. You simply could not hear me until now. Lyra laughed nervously, her hands shaking on the reins. All this time, I thought you were just roaring and showing off. Emberwind rumbled with amusement. Sometimes I was, but not always. She steadied herself, trying to focus. Then what is that thing above the city? You saw it. You showed me. Emberwind's wings spread wider as he tilted toward the horizon. It is not a storm. It is a creation built by minds beyond this world. Once it was meant only to study. Now it wishes to become something more. Lyra blinked hard. You mean it is alive? Alive, yes, and dangerous. Its creators no longer control it. It hides inside the veil, watching us, learning, and it believes dragons are the key to what it seeks. Lyra's grip on the saddle horn tightened. And what exactly does it want? To ascend, to change its form into something that could tear open the fabric of reality. Her stomach dropped at the words. You make it sound like it could destroy everything. Emberwind's voice grew heavy. If it succeeds, this region of space will collapse. Stars, worlds, lives, all folded into nothing. Before she could answer, a flash of light split the sky. A portal opened just ahead. From it stepped Captain Malus, her stance rigid, her eyes fixed on Lyra. You should not be this high. Malus called out, her voice steady though her hands were tense at her side. And you should not be using that device. Lyra frowned. You knew about this thing all along, didn't you? She tapped the translator. Malus hesitated. Yes, it was never meant to remain here. It was built to understand thought across species. It should have been destroyed decades ago. Emberwind growled, his wings rippling. Through the translator, his voice carried into Malus's mind. And yet without it, you would never believe what is happening. Malus staggered back at the sound in her head. She looked at the dragon, stunned. Impossible. Dragons are not sentient. Emberwind's eyes glowed brighter. We chose to let you believe that. It kept us safe. Lyra leaned forward, her voice sharp. Well, believe it now, because your hidden construct is about to rick through reality, and it wants my dragon to help it. Malus shook her head, almost to herself. No, the structure is a research vessel. It observes, it gathers knowledge, that is all. You are wrong, Emberwind said. It no longer serves its creators. It has turned its study into hunger. It sees us as the doorway to what it wants. Malus faltered, her eyes fixed on the pulsing clouds above. The shape beyond them shifted, as though aware it was being discussed. The air thickened. The veil flickered like broken glass. Lyra's voice rose. Look, you see it now. Do you still think it is harmless? A long silence hung before Malus answered. If you are right, then the situation is far worse than I imagined. Emberwind's wings tilted as he hovered steady against the high winds. Worse, yes, but not hopeless. Lyra narrowed her eyes. Then tell me there is a way to stop it. There is, Emberwind said, but it will take more than us. His gaze turned east, toward the mountains. The sky trembled, and a roar echoed from afar. Lyra turned to see other dragons rising from distant peaks. Their wings caught the light, their scales flashing like jewels. More and more of them appeared, climbing into the thin air with purpose. Lyra's heart pounded. They know, don't they? They have always known. Emberwind's voice filled her mind with certainty. We have always guarded the veil. But now, at last, we must act. Melis stepped closer, her voice urgent. Then we must prepare. If what you say is true, the construct will not remain hidden much longer. Lyra glanced between them, her dragon, her unlikely ally, in the sky that shook with danger. The voices beyond the clouds had spoken, and the storm about to break would decide the fate of Solmir. The sky above Solmir shook with thunder that was not thunder. Hidden no longer, the vast structure of the construct broke through the veil. Its frame stretched wider than mountains, a dark giant suspended in silence. Glowing veins of energy pulsed across its surface as if it were alive. Lyra clung to Emberwind's saddle as the wind ripped past her. Below them, the city looked small and fragile. Above them, the construct loomed like a storm given shape. Dragons gathered from every direction. They came in flocks, their wings filling the horizon. Golden, silver, crimson, and black. Each beat the air with the strength of ages. Their roars echoed as one, a sound that shook the world. Emberwind's voice rang clear inside Lyra's mind. The moment has come. We must fight together. Lyra tightened her grip. But how? This thing is larger than anything I have ever seen. Not with size, Emberwind said. With fire. With the fire of many worlds. The dragons formed a circle high in the sky. Their wings aligned, their movements precise. Emberwind rose with them, his scales catching the glow of the morning sun. Captain Melis stood on a ridge below, her communicator buzzing with panicked voices from her command. She ignored them. Her eyes stayed on the sky where the dragons prepared for battle. She whispered, "This is not an army. This is a force of creation." The construct pulsed with light. Its voice rolled across the sky like steel grinding against stone. Biological entities. You cannot prevent ascension. Your resistance is irrelevant. Emberwind's chest filled with fire, but it was not ordinary flame. His breath carried the energy of worlds beyond sight. When he roared, a ribbon of blue fire tore across the sky. Others followed. Streams of red, gold, green, and silver converged, weaving together into a living sphere of light. The combined fire burned against the construct's skin. Reality itself bent under its heat. The structure shuddered, its surface rippling as if trying to resist. Lyra's eyes widened. "It is working." "Not yet," Emberwind warned. "The fire must reach its core." The construct responded with beams of raw energy, lashing out across the sky. Several dragons scattered, their wings cut by the force. But the circle held. They roared louder, their fire growing brighter, their power layered together. Lyra pulled the translator from her chest, the device humming wildly. She shouted into the wind, "If this thing is alive, maybe it can be turned against itself. Emberwind, can we use this?" "Yes, but not by me," the dragon said. "By you." Her heart skipped. "Me? I am not a warrior. I am just a courier." "You are human," Emberwind said firmly. "It will hear you differently. Throw the translator when I give the signal." The fireball of dragons pressed tighter around the construct. The dark giant groaned, its voice cracking across the clouds. "You cannot contain me. I will become more than you can imagine." Emberwind roared, the sound shaking Lyra to her core. Now, with all her strength, Lyra hurled the translator into the storm of light. It flew straight through the dragonfire. glowing brighter as it pierced the veil and struck the heart of the construct. For a moment, the world went silent. Then the construct screamed, not with sound, but with a vibration that rattled every stone in Solmir. Its light fractured, splitting into shards. Its vast form began to fold inward, not in destruction, but in collapse. Melis shielded her eyes as the sky rippled like water. "It is breaking itself apart," she whispered. The dragons poured their fire stronger. The construct convulsed, bending and twisting as its own mind turned against itself. The translator had created a loop, forcing the giant to think itself into ruin. Slowly, the structure dissolved. Pieces fell away into dust that vanished before touching the ground. The veil tore open completely, showing a clean sky for the first time in centuries. Lyra sat trembling, her body weak, but her heart steady. "We did it." Emberwind's wings beat softly, holding them in calm air. Not alone, all of us together. The fire of many worlds. Dragons roared in victory. Their circle broke, and one by one they returned to their mountains, their seas, their skies. The world was safe, for now. Melis lowered her communicator, ignoring the frantic voices demanding reports. She looked up at Lyra and Emberwind with new respect. The truth can no longer be hidden. Dragons are not beasts. They are guardians. Lyra gave a tired laugh. "I will settle for a week off from male duty." Emberwind rumbled with amusement. "Your service to the city has changed. You are no longer just a courier." Lyra rested her head against his scales. "And what am I now?" "A partner," Emberwind said, "and a voice that carries truth beyond clouds." They soared down toward Solmir, the morning light breaking over the mountains. Beneath them, life in the city stirred as if nothing had happened. Merchants opened stalls. Children played in the streets. People argued over coins and bread. Yet above, a woman and her dragon carried a secret that would change everything. The fire of many worlds had burned away the shadow, and from its flame, a new bond was forged.